If you can open your mind to new and better ways of dealing with your problems, the affirmation of sound mental development can be yours. So sit back and enjoy a lesson in mental survival, a lesson that could help in sustaining your life for the better. My name is Leslie Russell. When I met Dr. Alston and his lovely wife, Sandy, we met through the Speakers, Publishers, and Authors Association. It was an instant connection between us. It was like a kindred spirit, if you will. They took me in actually as part of their family. One day I called Dr. Alston and I said, Dr. Alston, I'm in between clients. I have 5 minutes. I need you to sum up what's wrong with me before I jump off the ledge. So when I went to see him, I laughed, I cried, I opened up my mind. I was actually able to know what it means to indict yourself. What does that actually mean? And so I learned how to indict myself. I learned what a stuck point is and how to overcome a stuck point and how to move forward.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Although this is very serious material because it can affect your life, I want it to be somewhat lighthearted, but I want you to hear everything that I'm going to say to you today. Because this is not my indictment of you. It's your indictment of yourself. You have to be the person who sits back in your private space and tells yourself, hey, I'm flawed. I've got some issues. One of the greatest misrepresentations of mankind is to underutilize the power of the human mind. To learn these techniques and capture the full expression of thought progression that can stabilize, these are key words, that can stabilize sound decision making is a huge leg up for all of us. Getting to know yourself, getting to be able to identify what your problems are, and being able to separate a problem for a stuck point is critical. And I'll go over that as we move along. So understand me clearly. Your life is about you. I can't change your life for you. I can't change your mind. Perhaps I can influence how you think and why you think, but it's up to you to make that ultimate decision to change something about your character that needs to be changed. And perhaps it's been going on 30, 40, 50 years. I say that based on my experience in Vietnam. That broke me down, guys, and that was my barometer to the rest of my life. That was the most powerful event in my life that challenged me beyond words. But you have to pick out that traumatic time in your life. And you have to look back at that time, because obviously you're still here, and then ask yourself, what did I do that brought me through that? Well, some of you might have just pushed it into your subconscious. But guess what? Your subconscious is always there. And what comes behind your subconscious is its cousin, and that's a trigger. Something's going to trigger that traumatic experience and put you into a serious state of depression. Something that you've tried to avoid perhaps all of your life, or most of your life, but it's never, ever been rectified. When I wrote this book, Simply Common Sense, it was after I went to the VA, along with my good friend Ron Gardner. Raise your hand, Ron. And 15 years ago, they denied me my benefits as a veteran, simply based on how I looked, the way I dressed, how I was able to articulate. I didn't come in on a walker or a wheelchair. I didn't have an oxygen tank on the back of my back. They looked at me and said, oh, you don't qualify. There's nothing wrong with you. Well, unless you can look into my mind and see the emotional scarring, what qualifies you to make that assessment of me? Needless to say, I didn't pursue it. So As I transitioned in life, and obviously I made it back from Vietnam, and that was a glorious time for me, I still had those traumatic experiences that I was able to subdue because I had to. We didn't have anybody to talk to. There was no debriefing. And that still happens today. Nothing is beyond the scope of you dealing with your stuck points. But you have to have the will, you have to have the desire to want to do it. Better. I wanted to do more with my life. I wanted to leave a legacy for my children and my grandchildren. But that came from within. And we all have that inner knowing that I'll get into later. We all know what we should do, but we don't do it. And guess what? We elect not to do it. So you have to indict yourself and ask yourself, why? Why can I sit down and really tell myself, hey, I'm flawed, I'm messed up, I need to deal with these issues, but how can I go about doing it? This could be the beginning. This could be your beginning. But you have to listen to what I'm saying to you. Am I the guru for all of this? Absolutely not. I just write from my own experiences. But I write that everybody can relate to. Absolutely everybody in here. Male, female, black, white, Asian, whatever. Everybody can deal with it because everybody has stuck points. Are you with me so far?
Yes.
Okay. Now I want your cooperation. When I ask you something, I want it to resonate because it's going to be on video. I'm really trying to create a following of thinkers. We don't think. Thinking is linear. We think on straight lines. You know, our thoughts are all over the place. We multitask all the time. But how often have you actually sat down and thought about your day and the problems that you encountered that were, by definition, just stuck points? But you've been stuck for so long because you deal with the same issues all the time, you don't know how to navigate through it. And that's what this is going to be about today. I'm going to teach you how to navigate through your thoughts. All right? My words, your reality, you make the decision. Everybody with me?
Yes.
Last year, around this time, I gave the first seminar on Simply Common Sense, right here in this room. And I did a historical perspective. And we all know this man, right? Martin Luther King Jr., he talked about emancipation, he talked about freedom. He talked about this non-violent way of dealing with our oppressors. Now, oppression doesn't necessarily have to be racial. We have our own people that oppress us. We have people in our family that oppress us. We have people who are toxic that are oppressors. But how do we deal with it? What do? Do we just walk away? Most of the time, if you're like me, I don't have time for toxic people. I really don't. I don't have that kind of time. You know, if I'm telling you, by way of your question, that you're doing something wrong, and you tell me, well, no, I'm not. Well, what you asked me for in the first place? See, that's a stuck point. If people can't tell you something after you ask them, then they need to be by themselves. Hey, you work it out by yourself. This is your issue, this is your problem. Make it what you will, but I don't have the time. But if you tell me you have a problem, I said, well, let's sit down and talk about it. Then you tell me what's going on. I can devise a way to make you see yourself a little different. But you have to have an open mind. You have to have the will to want to change. You understand that? Does everybody understand where I'm coming from?
Yes.
Okay. So, Malcolm X, same kind of vision, but his methodology was different. His thing was violence, by any means necessary. But guess what? I can relate to that. Because if you get up in my face too many times, saying too many wrong things, I'm going to respond. And depending on my temperament, depending on those stresses that are working, depending on my ability to pull myself away from that combat zone, you might be okay. But you might catch me on a bad day, and I may retaliate. Do you understand? So this applies to us all. We all have that measure that we have to realize that, hey, I can't take it no more. There's something else that I need to do. And before I can do anything, I got to make me a better person. Martin Luther King, his freedom speech. Very charismatic man. Nonviolence. A methodology. A mental state. A mental position. A progressive thinker. A visionary. Malcolm X. Same character traits. But his thing, coming off the streets as a pimp and a drug user, that's what he knew. It's like, if you piss me off enough, I'm going to hurt you. But he made a lot of sense, because we have to determine for ourselves just how much we're going to take and who we're going to take it from. Okay? Slavery, we were actually bought and sold. It's very important for everybody to understand their history, because there are historical factors that we all can relate to. They bought and sold slaves. And it hasn't been that long. But isn't that still going on today to some extent?
Yes.
Isn't it? So the methods of our oppressors have changed, but the reality of it has not changed. They don't have to control us as much, like Stateway Gardens and all the projects down up north. They got rid of that, but we're still shackled here. We don't have the chains of slavery, but we're shackled here. They don't have to kill us, because what? We're killing ourselves. But there are generations that are coming behind us, guys, that are being affected. So what's left of a generation of people who now wind up dead or in jail for the rest of their lives? Are we blessed? Questionable. Is it good to still be here? Yes. Can you do something different about your life? Absolutely. Do you want to do something different about your life? That's up to you. Shackles. Are you brainwashed? Are you brainwashed? Are you that wannabe? Are you that person who always wants to put themselves ahead of anybody else and you ain't done nothing? Is it time to get off your do nothing and do something? I say it is, because I can't stop doing what I enjoy doing. I talk about passion a lot, and my passion has become teaching. But guess what, guys? I've taught in some capacity all of my life. So your life has a pattern. Things that you did early on in life, some of us wind up doing it later on in life, like I did. I've taught in every capacity. I've taught at university, I've taught at the police academy, with incoming recruits. I headed up a program, Chicago Intervention Network, that brought staff into the schools. That program was created by Harold Washington. And he actually took people off the street, gang members, and gave them jobs. But he gave them cars and radios, and they started acting like police. The police department got a little aggravated and say, hey, we can't do that. We can't do that. So I had an opportunity to come in and turn that whole program around. And for 2 years, we were able to do something with that program. I went downstate, I was speaking down there to superintendents, and we were doing some great things. The Safe School Zone, I was a part of that initiative. So I learned a lot. But when I got that job, guys, there wasn't a lot of public speaking I was doing. But I wasn't afraid, because I had experienced a lot of stuff already. And I brought that experience to the table. And that's what has allowed me to do the things that I'm doing today, is to teach folks and let them know that there's always a way if you want to make a way. Emmett Till, before. Young man was killed when he was 15 years old. Full of hopes, maybe some vision, but he was the son of a mother who loved him, who never had a chance to flourish. History, guys. They brutally beat this man, this young boy, threw him over the Tallahatchie Bridge for, they say, whistling at a white woman. They beat him unmercifully in Mississippi. This is how he wound up. His mother chose to have an open casket because she wanted the world to see the hatred that was being exemplified. And isn't that still going on today?
Yes.
But who's doing it? We're doing it amongst ourselves. What kind of common sense is that? Is that rational or irrational thinking? That's a good question, and we'll get into that. Trayvon Martin, same kind of story. We all know the story. But what do you think's behind it? Is it just hatred, or is it hatred of a particular race? It's debatable. Now, I'm not here to serve that purpose, but it's debatable. It's questionable. But why is it that our people are being victimized so often by our own and by police around the country? People don't value life anymore, especially ours. But we don't have to buy into it. We can start doing some things. You have to find what your passion is. You have to pursue it each and every day. The Asians and the Japanese, from birth, they're learned a skill, and they practice that all their lives. That's why they're so proficient at the arts. It takes a discipline. It takes a will. Michael Brown from Ferguson, Missouri. Classic example. Shot 6 times, once in the head, from what I remember. Is that an overkill? Is it hatred? It's truly a mindset, is it not? But how do we go about changing the mindset? You can't change the mindsets of other people. All thing you can do is change the mindset of you. You are the person that has to indict yourself. You have to become that person who cares about your future, your deliverance, what you want to do for the rest of your life. What is it? Can you figure it out? We'll see. This course is like a graduate course. Let's call it 101. And as I get more into this book, every time I write something, guys, I read it over and over again, and I get different answers. Answers that I ask myself, or questions that I ask myself. And I came to realize that what I'm going to show you today is not rational thinking. It's irrational thinking. And I say that because if you're doing something irrational, it's not common. Thinking progressively, moving out of the lines of linear thinking, trying not to multitask with everything that you do is not common. It's irrational. Where do you find your peace? Can you meditate? Would you meditate? Can you buy into it? I've gotten into spiritual wellness. My brother-in-law here talked to me a lot about the power of manifestation. And there's a lot to be said about that. Because you are who you think you are. Do I have to say that again? If you see yourself as a cripple, an emotional cripple, guess what? That's what you're going to be. If you associate yourself with drug addicts and alcoholics, that's what you're going to become. You can't hang around with people who are poor and expect to become a millionaire. It ain't going to happen. Determine where you are right now. And now we're getting into this, guys. Where are you right now? Did you leave your ego at the door? Are you sitting here thinking about what you got to do when you get home? Are you sitting here thinking that, hey, he's wasting my time because I don't want to hear any of this. I'm too old to change. Are you really? Are you really too old to change? Do you want to change? What is it about yourself that you could change if you tried hard enough? Perhaps I can give you the tools to do that. But you have to receive the tools. I'm only the author of the way to go about doing it. Where are you today? Are you dealing with difficult emotions? And I'm talking about all that muck with an M. All that muck that's in your life. We all have it. We all go through stuff. And I've had conversations with a lot of you. When you leave here, are you going to leave my thoughts, my words here with you? Or are you going to take some of this back when you get home and sit down and discuss it? This book has done very well. It's become the aha moment for a lot of people. People actually sit at their dinner tables and talk about it. And the question, the prevailing question is, well, Ron, what do you think about me? I can't tell you that. I'll get in trouble. I'll get cussed out. You have to tell yourself what your problem is or what your stuck point is. Don't talk to me today and say, well, this, that, and the other. Well, what do you think? What do you think? That's what's important. Are you trying to identify your stressors? What are your stressors? What are those things about your character that keeps coming up when certain things happen? What are those things in your life? Is it your children? Do they stress you out? I know they do. They stress you out. Do other people stress you out? Do people in your family stress you out? Do your siblings stress you out? Do people who you've never met stress you out? Do those customer service people stress you out? What can you really do about it? Only you can do is recognize the toxic behavior that so many people can demonstrate. And it's been my experience traveling around the country doing these seminars that so many people are lost because they just don't know what to do. They don't know how to handle these stuck points.